Page 21, Melody. This is a famous piece from Album of the Young by Schumann, and this is not an arrangement here. We're getting into the real stuff here. This is where you don't rearrange it. Play it the way it was written. Let's talk about the right hand first. This is a very smooth, legato, gentle piece. This is the kind of thing you could play if you want to get a baby to fall asleep. It's just real. It says piano at the beginning and dolce. Dolce is just a light lyrical thing. Notice the phrasing, follow the phrasing. Now, again, we want to bring out the melody. So there in the first line, the last measure, it's 4, A, that's the melody. That's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear the F sharp, we want to hear it in the background. So practice that, F sharp A, until you get the A a little louder than the F sharp. In the second line, look at the first two measures. You have those little hairpins over the first note. The idea is they want a little gentle stress, a little gentle. It's not like an accent where you go oomph. This is just more like you feel the stress. Ooh, you just push it. Ooh. And the third measure. Don't just give it a harsh accent. I don't know how to explain it exactly. It's a very gentle accent. Experiment, and every piano's got a different touch, so good luck on that one. Second line, last measure. Look at this, all these eighth notes. The melody is up here. So when you get to the third beat, when you have an F, the dotted quarter note, that's what we want to hear. These other eighth notes underneath are background. So the measure. So just make sure there's a difference in volume between the F and the A, C, B. Gets a little tricky, but having that kind of control is so important. And the scales, if you'll do the accents and the wrist collapses and so forth on the scales and the arpeggios, that will do a great deal. You'll be surprised at how effective that is in giving you the kind of finger control you need to be able to do this kind of stuff. This stuff on that measure, the last measure, the second line, is also 2 lines down. It's the same thing. Now they're suggesting the fingering. What's the fingering? It's 1, 4, 3, 5. Then they're saying a 1, 4, and then substitute a 5 for the 4. Here. I don't see why. I don't see any point in substituting the 5th finger there, because the 4 can stay there just fine. You can still do a third here. You just have to come down 1. Right? And then the beginning of the third line there, that's a 5-2. With the 5 is the melody. That's what we want to hear. Third line, third measure. Look at that. The melody's the top notes. See, so be careful here on bringing out the melody. And substitute 3 for 5 here. That's good. We want a legato, and we're using a fingering that gives us that legato for the melody. You can feel the melody by fingering it legato. Like so. So do what they're suggesting right there. I like that fingering very much. The last 2 lines is similar to what we've already talked about, so I won't bother with those. In the left hand. Now the left hand has pretty much, not all, but pretty much just eighth notes throughout. It's just a steady beat. I'm transferring my weight. I'm not using fingers. I'm kind of exaggerating it for the camera. The motion is very little. It's just a very little, and it has to stay soft. It's got to stay under the melody. See, the tendency is in piano is the hand that has all the work tends to be played louder. You just naturally want to play it louder. Yeah. So you have to make sure you're listening carefully and make a conscious effort to bring it way down. Like so. This is a very pretty piece. It's not fast. That's what that neck schnell is. Not fast, not real slow. I'd say a moderate speed is fine. Let's talk about left hand. In the first line, the last two measures, watch this fingering carefully. They're giving you an alternate fingering in parentheses. It's up to you. I like the regular fingering they're offering, the first one myself. That last measure, the first line, it's a 4-1, 5-1, 3. Second line, second measure, 3, 4. So just follow the fingering carefully in the left hand and you should be fine. You know, it's all slurred, it's all connected except between the phrases. And now here, both hands have phrases. That's unusual. Usually only the hand with the melody gets the phrases. But now both hands have it, so now you're going to lift up between each phrase. So between the second and third measures of the first line is there. Both hands give us a break in there. I don't know if I really like that. I kind of like having that left hand just constant going, so only breaking the top hand. But they've marked up phrases in both hands. And that means there's a little bit of silence between them. In the second line, look, each of those phrases in the second line. In the left hand is doing it. The right hand has a rest, so it's not a problem, but the left hand, you're lifting up and then just a short break between them. Since I don't know if Schumann did it or if an editor did that, I would be hesitant to change anything. But I would like to think the editor put those in, and in reality, you can play that left hand connected throughout, no phrasing at all, because it really, I like the idea of it just being a regular pulsing beat underneath without any phrasing at all. There is a poco rallentando at the end. The last measure means just a little bit slow down, not a lot, just a little. You have hairpins to get softer. This piece never gets loud. You're soft or softer. You decide. Now in the third line, or second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, boo. You can, in the third measure of each, you have that diminuendo, so you can start at the beginning of the diminuendo more like a mezzo forte. Don't get loud, but you can get sort of loud, so you got plenty of room to get soft, okay, because you're coming back and getting soft again. And they're giving you the piano, the P at the beginning of each line to reinforce the idea that this is a soft piece. Now there is a repeat sign at the end of the first line, so we're going to do the first line twice. It's in common timer 4/4, so I'm going to give us 4 counts, and your hands are here. But they will move around a little. It would be handy if you can eventually learn to play this without looking at the keyboard at all, because your hands aren't really moving around a lot. It's moving a little, but there aren't any really nasty jumps. The third line is probably the worst between the second and third measure, where you have a G in the right hand and you have to go up to an A. Might have to look down for that one. If you can stretch that far, that handy, then do that. Then it's just a note above an octave, depending on how big your hands are. Same thing in the last line, but otherwise try and do this piece pretty much without looking at the keyboard at all. 1, 2, ready and go, and. Repeat